How are you? This is a very simple question, and it's the way that a lot of people start a conversation with someone. It's a question that is part of a chit chat between two people, and it's a question that can be answered in a very different way depending on your neurodiversity. Today's episode we discuss about how different neurodiversities, particularly ASD, answer questions like that. I will share my experience as I had this week when speaking to someone and how I answer that question. Hi everyone, welcome to ASD is Ability, the podcast about how to navigate life with a neurodiversity, particularly about autism spectrum disorder, also called ASD, hence the name of the podcast. If you are new to the show, it is great to have you around for the first time, and I trust that you will continue listening. If you are a regular follower, welcome back. It is great to have your company around. Without more delay, let's start. I'm going to start by sharing a conversation I had with someone this week. That conversation started by that person saying, "Hello, how are you?" And my reply was, "I'm very well, how about you?" And what followed was quite unexpected. I thought that a person would ask and say, "Well, this, I'm well," or "I'm also quite well," etc., and then go into a conversation. In reality, that person asked me, "How come you always say you are well when I speak to you?" And it made me wonder, am I always saying I'm well? And what is other people expecting from the answering that question? I had to wait and listen to what my inner thoughts were saying, because I was really conflicting about it. Do we say what we actually think in circumstances like that, or do we say what's polite and the standard? My reply was that if I'm saying I'm feeling well, it's because I'm well. And I elaborated a bit more, saying doesn't mean I'm happy all the time, I could be sad, it's just simply I'm well with myself. And wouldn't that be good, that we can prepare ourselves to be the best we can be? And that person was quite surprised and said, "Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, I'll think about." And made me wonder a lot about how many times we start a conversation in a way that might not unlock the best possible outcome. I understand about chit chat and sometimes it's just a quick question just to get to the meat of the conversation. So saying, "How are you?" "Yeah, I'm fine," etc. That's how it is. Is this really the best way forward? Are we getting the best for ourselves and others just answering questions like that without much heart or thought to it? This is what I thought I would take for today's episode to really have a take on it. Let's have a look. My take on these initial questions that you receive, or you can do in a lot of conversations, are polite questions. "Hi, how are you?" And and you expect a very short answer after it. Do I get usual responses saying, yeah, I'm not bad, I'm fine, yeah, just there, very busy, just to move to the conversation? I don't get long answers, and I don't think people expect long answers. However, as someone with ASD, sometimes we are prone to give longer answers. So it's important to keep it short, because otherwise the other person might expect, oh, that's a very long essay. Now, when it comes to answering, having control of that answer is fundamental. More importantly, what is that you want to convey there? In the example I shared, yes, it was about sharing how I was and move to the conversation. By saying I was well, did that help the conversation to go better? It's difficult to say, because unless I have the same conversation again with that person with a different answer, how would I know? I recall previous conversations with some other people when asking how are you, how that question, ask I'm great, I'm feeling glorious, and people in the meeting, when they heard that, were like, wow, that's good to hear, and uplifted everybody. So isn't it that initial question can open the door to feel better in that meeting? To show that we are not robots, that when someone says, hi, how are you? Fine. How are you? Fine. Let's talk. We have an acknowledgement, short acknowledgement on how the other person is. And by doing that, the whole mood improves. At least that's how I see it. And if you have a different point of view, I would love to hear about it. Having control of our feelings and how we have our conversation is the way forward to have a better position in life. My suggestions from today's episode and the reflection we have had is that when it comes to chit-chat, brief is the best. Even if someone is having a bad day or someone wants to share a lot of things, it's better to keep it brief, simply because it's a chit-chat. The purpose of that meeting, particularly at work, is to really go to the main conversation. So you need to pass that hurdle. So keeping it brief is very important. Another aspect that is very relevant is to keep it positive. Again, if someone answers, well, I'm not good, or even the likes of not bad or fine, does it uplift you? I don't think so. It just makes you feel like, well, quite low energy. Whereas answering like, I'm well, I'm radiant, I'm glorious, I'm feeling great, or my day so far has been fantastic, looking forward to next. So whatever comes to you as your way of thinking, that keeps it well and very positive. Again, when it comes to these questions, another suggestion is just ask back with a smile. Yeah, and how about you? And that's good. That's a good way. This is all suggestions for a conversation in a work environment or with someone that you don't know. When it comes to close friends, family, of course, you can just expand more. And that's very important if the neurodiversity you have is ASD, because sometimes people with ASD don't share so much. And if it's a different type of neurodiversity, be aware of how is your natural way of answering that. With that, it allows to really move forward in a society where we have neurotypicals and we have other types of neurodiversity. We have covered today how we answer questions like how are you at the beginning of a conversation, and then discuss how ASD as one of the neurodiversities approaches questions like how are you in a typical chit chat at the beginning of a talk. I have shared my experience, and also I have made some suggestions based on how I see it to make that initial exchange of conversation to be meaningful, to feel natural, and to make the other person or persons, if it's a group, to feel that it's a conversation that started very, very well. If you have other suggestions or other points of view, please share. I will be very keen to hear them. With this, we have come to the end of today's episode. I would love to hear feedback from you. You can do it through the podcast page or through my social media. This podcast is a reflection of what's interesting and willing to be listened out there. So the more you share, the better. And thanks for those that come back with feedback, which has been great. And if it's not good, please also share. That's the only way to keep improving. I will review that for future episodes and I'll reflect on it. In the meantime, it has been great to have you around. Subscribe if you like the episode. And if you have done that already, I will see you next time. Take care.